Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fearfully and Wonderfully Me. This episode continues our series on the elements of growth and transformation. And you all, let me just stop and say, I cannot believe it's September already. I'm actually recording this episode just a little bit in advance of when you get it. I record the episodes, well, obviously before they come out, but I cannot believe it is September already. It seems like the year stopped in March, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared or evaporated or sped by somehow. And I just cannot believe we're heading into fall. Um, so today's episode, last week's episode, we talked about intentionally choosing our values. Today's episode is all about focusing on ourselves, and I'll have to explain that a little bit. What what I mean by that, the principles that I talk about and the elements of growth and transformation, they've allowed me to transform my life in so many positive ways. A lot of times, even before I could have explained how I was living the principles, how I was applying them, I couldn't have articulated these principles 20 years ago. I couldn't have told you what I was doing. I just knew that they were working for me. And they're powerful. When we work with them, these principles are powerful and they will help you transform your life too. And probably they already have in many ways, even before you listened to this podcast or before you knew what some of these principles were. And you've probably already experienced success in life in some areas. And that's a great thing. And if you haven't experienced the power of applying great principles to your life, then I know they're going to help you so much more when you do start intentionally applying them. But here's the thing, and here's where I say focusing on ourself. You've got to be the one to choose to apply these principles. I can't do it for you as much as I want to, as much as I would love to. I can't do it for you. You are the only one who can do it. No one could do it for me, and no one can do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. Only you can choose to develop yourself and develop into your potential. And it will be hard, but it will be worth it. But see, the reason only you can do it is because only you can make those changes that need to change. And I don't know what those are, but I know you are are in the journey of figuring that out. You've got to be the one to do it. And here's the catch 22. You can't do it for someone else. You realize that you can make those changes in your life and you can get different results, but you also have to realize you can't change others. And boy, how much energy do we waste trying to fix other people? And it's not that we think that we were, born to do that necessarily. It's just that we can't help it because it's so much easier to say the problem that we have is caused or created by someone else, because that means we don't have to do anything to fix it. If you get in an argument with your spouse and you firmly believe it's his fault, whatever it was, it's his fault. It's his fault. He made me so mad. He said this. He didn't do this. It's his fault. As long as you believe that, you don't have to do anything to fix it because it's his fault, right? But that also means that it never gets better because he's over there sitting there thinking the same thing. The problem was your fault. See, as long as we externalize that blame instead of accepting responsibility, we can't improve it, whatever it is. We can't fix it if we won't be responsible for fixing it. We blame other people because there's only one other choice. And as long as we're blaming someone or something else, we don't have to do anything. It's easier to blame someone or something else. But you can't fix anyone else. Hopefully you can influence them, but you can't change them. Quit trying. Quit trying. I don't know how many people I know or have talked to in the past um, who get in a relationship, they start dating someone, and they'll call and be like, well, I don't like this about this person. And so they try to fix it, especially women friends. They'll start dating someone and they'll be like, oh, I don't like he does this, or I don't like how he does this. And so they try to fix him. And that might work for a couple weeks, but pretty soon that other person doesn't want to change, isn't interested in being fixed, and so they go back to whatever they were doing anyway. And so then my friend is unhappy because she didn't like that about that person, and she tries to fix them, but they don't want to be fixed. I mean, none of us want to be fixed by other people, right? Because we feel judged when someone tries to fix us or correct us or change us. And so we're defensive against that. And at the end of the day, no one can do it for us anyway. You can't change anyone else, no one can change you. It's a conversation between you and you when you talk about improving yourself. So quit trying to fix other people. Start working on influencing them and quit trying to improve them, because it's not about them. If everybody in the world just focused on themselves, the world would be so much better, right? We would quit trying to blame other people. If everybody in the world quit blaming other people for our mistakes and our problems and our situations and just said, what can I do to fix it? If everybody in the world was willing to take some ownership of that, man, just imagine how awesome it would be. Um, you have 100% control and responsibility for yourself. And trust me, that's enough responsibility. You don't want responsibility for someone else, especially when you can't control anybody else. But everyone, assuming we're mentally competent, of course, everyone has the responsibility for themselves. Now, there are some leaders and coaches, parents, teachers who step up and say, I want some responsibility for helping someone else. But how I do that is by influencing them instead of correcting them, controlling them. You can't. You can't change anyone else. You can't control anyone else. All you can do is focus on improving yourself to increase your influence. In 2013, Mac and I had the privilege of going to the country of Guatemala, and we were invited to go. We went with John Maxwell, and there were 150 of us on the team who volunteered. I mean, we volunteered to go. We paid our own expenses to go. I had to take time off work, which cost, obviously cost money, vacation time, that kind of thing. But we wanted to go. But the country of Guatemala had asked John Maxwell to come down and transform the nation. They said, please come in, teach us some leadership principles, help us change and grow as a nation. And it was a fabulous opportunity. It was a phenomenal growth opportunity for me. There is no doubt. Um, and it changed me in just so many ways. And it's probably a lot of people have experienced this when you go on like a mission trip or something like that. I mean, you want to help the other people. That's why you go. But I felt like I received so much more than I gave. And I think that's not uncommon for people who go on trips like this, right? When we go and we want to help somebody else, we go on a mission trip or I mean, this was kind of a mission trip. It was a little bit different. We weren't building houses. We were teaching leadership, but it is so it's such a gift when we do that. And you walk away richer in some way for having done it, for having given something of yourself. You get so much more. It was an incredible growth opportunity for me. But what was interesting, I mean, over that course of that week, the whole team trained 20,000 people on leadership principles. Phenomenal. I went to every one of us was paired up with an interpreter because I don't speak Spanish, not enough to certainly to teach leadership in Spanish. And so, every one of us was paired up with an interpreter, and then we would go to a location like a business or a government entity or a school or something like that. And we would teach whoever had volunteered to be there the leadership principles. And so 20,000 people over the course of the week, it's a lot of lives to touch. And then the expectation and the hope was that each of those people we taught would turn around and teach someone else. But here's what's interesting and why I'm talking about this to begin with. The whole theme for that whole trip and leadership teachings and principles, the whole concept, when the country decided to transform, the theme that they picked was transformation begins with me. Right? When the country of Guatemala wanted to change and get better, and they asked John Maxwell to come down and all of us, the whole theme of that was transformation begins with me. We didn't go and teach leadership principles that tell you how to fix anyone else or change anyone else or transform anyone else. It was all about personal growth, personal transformation. If I get better myself, my family gets better, my community gets better, my workplace gets better, my country gets better. And if every individual just focuses on that, imagine how powerful it is. Imagine how powerful it can be when each one of us focuses on ourselves. Because I can't fix anyone else, but boy, I know I've tried in the past. I can remember trying to fix a coworker because I didn't like the way that they did something, or maybe they, were always coming in late, and so I would just, try to judge that and be critical of that and try to fix it and be like, man, you should come in, tell them what to do. You should come in early. You should plan better. No, I can't fix anyone else. I have to focus on myself because boy, I got enough imperfections. I don't need to worry about fixing anyone else's. And even it's the Bible even reminds us to quit trying to pick out the speck in someone else's eye and focus on the log in our own life. And we do that though, don't we? We look at flaws of other people or perceived flaws of other people, and we kind of judge that. We want to fix that. We want them to fix that rather than looking at the flaws that we have. Mac and I love to say that the mirror can be your best friend or your worst enemy, right? You can look in that mirror and you can just focus on all the great things about yourself. And that's not bad. I don't want you to beat yourself up when you look in the mirror. And I'm talking about a mental, in a mental way, not a physical way. Because we talked about that in one of the earlier transformation elements, right? When I look in the mirror, I tend to see the flaws in my physical body. I want you to also use a mental mirror and reflect on the flaws of character. I'm not talking about physical body here. I'm talking about how I can get better as a person. What are our weaknesses of character? Years ago, I attended a class on developing others. And I don't remember much or most of what that class was about, but I remember they talked about, develop your strengths because, you're strong, but also develop your weaknesses because we want well-rounded, well-balanced people. And I think kind of as a culture, we do that. We talk about, oh, well, gosh, I'm weak in math, so let me buff up on my math skills. But here's the thing, if you're not great and naturally gifted at math, you are never going to be anything more than average in math, even if you study hard and work on your skills in that area. I use math because math is not my greatest area of strength. I'm just not great at it. I can do it. I'm not naturally gifted at it. But if I spent all my time and energy trying to get better at it, I would get a little better at it, but I'm never going to wow you with my math skills. I'm never going to be a great math teacher. I'm never going to solve great mathematical equations. I'm never going to be anything better than average in that. So people say, work on your weaknesses, but when you work on your strengths in terms of competencies and skills, you can shine like a star. And I want you to shine. I want you to work on those areas that you're gifted and talented at, because that's where you can shine and excel. So work on your strengths when it comes to competencies and skills and abilities and talents. But focus on your weaknesses when it comes to character, the who you are, the how you do what you do, because those are the things that are holding you back. If you are chronically late, for example, if you are always telling people, hey, I'll meet you at 1 and it's 1:15 before you show up, if that happens to you all of the time, that's a weakness of character. That's a lack of integrity. Now, I know sometimes things happen and I mean, you hit traffic or, the world blows up and you run, that happens. But if you are chronically all the time making a commitment and not keeping it, that's a weakness of character. So you see the difference between competency is what we know how to do, math, reading, technical ability, you know, building a website. Those are all competencies. Focus those areas on things you're good at, and weaknesses, focus on weaknesses of character, because that's what holds you back. I, and really, I love Henry Cloud's definition of character. He says character is the ability to meet the demands of reality. And that's going to be different for all of us. If you have a job that works Monday 9 to 5, your reality is you got to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning, right? That it takes some character to get up on time, to get yourself showered and dressed and ready to work. That takes some character. Character is the ability to meet the demands of reality. Whatever reality is, character is the ability to do it. And he goes on to say integrity is the courage to do so. And, character is having the right values and character. Integrity is living up to them. And that, so focus on the areas that you don't do great at. When you look in that mental mirror, focus on yourself and how you can improve in areas of character. And that's going to be different for everyone. And how we overcome that is going to be different. I know that growth in one dimension of life helps us in other areas. I think a lot of my character growth started when I started, working out and exercising and improving my physical health. It gave me some control in my physical dimension, and it helped me grow in other dimensions as well. So sometimes it's, developing ourselves and growing ourselves in areas of character. The first thing we have to start is stop blaming other people and start focusing on ourselves. How can I get better? What do I need to do? If you have a relationship that's not going great, what do you need to do different? Quit worrying about the other people and what they need to do different. I have no doubt that we all can do things differently and better. But see, you can't change that. Your power is over what you can change and influence, and that is you. That's 100% you. And, that's the first step. And whatever it is that we need to change or grow or develop about our character, the first step is owning it. And it's probably the most difficult step, right? Taking ownership of that. It says easy and it does hard. And I recognize that. I know it. And it's something that I work at every single day. What do I need to do? Quit blaming other people and just saying, I focus on myself. If everyone started doing that, think about that. The world would be such a better place. Wives would stop trying to fix their husbands. Husbands would stop trying to fix their wives. Parents would stop trying to fix their children. Managers and leaders would stop trying to fix their team members. And just imagine a world like that. If we all quit wasting energy on trying to fix everybody else and focus that on improving ourselves. Personal growth is personal. It is a you and you conversation. No one else can do that for you, and you can't do that for anyone else. But self-respect begins with self-responsibility. Until next time.
Start increasing your influence and maximizing your potential with Ria's audiobooks. Available at audible.com, amazon.com, and iBooks. Please visit riastory.com to learn about Ria's books, resources, speaking, and training programs. Thanks for listening.